Welcome back to a new Anno 1800 episode. I'm back with another perfect layout and stamp video. If you've missed some of the previous one or you want to see the full series, don't hesitate to check in the video description below. In particular, I do also have a tutorial on how to actually use stamp, how to create them, how to download new ones, how to use the ones that are sent from your friends. So don't hesitate to check that in the video description below. And today we're going to talk about wood and timber. Timber is obviously very important in the early game to develop your city, but you also need wood for a number of resources during the game, right? So it's actually good to have a couple of those layouts. As always, I'm going to show you multiple. Today we're gonna look at 4 that go from really basic and not that much optimized to the perfect ones. Let's dive in. So the first one is indeed a really basic one and also not that much optimized. I'm gonna explain what it means, but basically as you can see we have 4 lumberjack huts and 4 wood cutters, sawmills in the middle with 1 warehouse and a fire station. Depending on working condition and things like this, you may need to upgrade your warehouse or to put a second one maybe outside. And just with that, you're already producing 16 per minute of timber with a perfect ratio on the wood. So you're not actually producing any wood, only timber. Of course, if you want to use this layout, but to produce a bit of wood, what you can do is, for example, increase a bit the working condition on the lumberjack hut, or you can delete one of the sawmills, right? And then you will be producing definitely, a bit less of timber, 12 only, but then you have 4 of wood at the same time. As you can see, you also have a main road in the middle. This will need to be connected to your main trading post, right? Otherwise, this will not work. But you can also see there's a road connecting everything, right? Everything is connected. So for example, the fire station is actually covering everything. And that's why I'm saying it's not actually completely optimized, at least for the early game. So let's move to level 2. Because in level 2, we're gonna do something a bit similar, but it's gonna take a lot less space. It is actually more optimized. We still have 1 warehouse in the middle, but we don't have a fire station and we don't have roads everywhere. This one over here is my main road. It needs to be connected to my trading post and to other of those layouts, all right? But then the road stops at the warehouse. Why can you do that? Well, because the warehouse is actually a bit like a road. This works like a road, but your fire station and things like this, they cannot go across it. It just plays the role of a road in the sense that this doesn't need to be connected to my main trading post. And so with that, we have a lot less roads, as you can see, right? We have this one over here that's connecting this lumberjack hut to that sawmill, the same on this side, this one is connected to this one, and the same on this side, but that's it, it's not connected to this main road. And with that also, we've put them a lot closer to each other. They are really almost on top of each other, but they still provide a 100% perfect available area, right? So as long as you don't have, mountains or things like this around here, this is perfect. This will work at 100%. So again, making 16 of timber without any working conditions or things like this, but in a lot less space. So feel free to use this one too. And of course, as always, all of those stamps and layouts are available on my Discord community for free. You can find the link to join my Discord community in the video description below. By the way, speaking of optimization, you can be even more sneaky than that and do something like this, for example. You don't need this road per se over here. What you can do is this like this, where this will deliver only to the sawmill and then the sawmill will deliver to the warehouse. Right, so this doesn't need to be connected to the warehouse. It just needs to be connected to the sawmill if your goal is to produce only timber. Now, I actually do prefer this one because what often happens in the early game is that you want to produce a lot of timber, but at some point you're gonna be full. But for me, that's not a problem because when I'm full, this will start delivering wood to the warehouse. So I'm starting to make a reserve of wood too. And then of course, when I start using my timber, then this restarts and the wood is delivered to the sawmill. But at least, I'm also starting to make reserves of wood while not having more production of wood than what's needed. But all that to say that if you want to be even more space efficient, you can. And now we'll move to the last 2 stamps, which will have trade unions. A trade union dedicated for the sawmill and a trade union dedicated for the wood production. Let's start quickly by the sawmill one. We are actually fitting 56 sawmills. So we're talking about 224 timber per minute, even without any items, zoos, or anything like this, right? There's no items, there's nothing like this, but we're already producing more than 200 thanks to those 56 sawmills. So that's a huge one. Of course, you will need a number of warehouses, fire station and police station outside. I didn't put them because frankly, I don't think a lot of you really need this layout, but I did want to show it to you. Do note also that there's no road going into the trade union. So if you're playing with the palace and you actually need a road to get the bonus, and what I would suggest is just delete something like this, right? You can place it over here. Now you have a road, and with that space you can also even fit, one fire station, for example. But yeah, you can easily do it if needed. Now, what's more interesting is this one over here to produce a lot of wood, because you will actually need a lot of wood, especially if you're in min-maxer, if you're trying to have a lot of population. You will need wood, for example, for your sewing machine. You need wood for the rum. Your cigars, of course, will need a lot of wood. Gramophones, steam carriages, and there's definitely a few others. So you may actually need quite a bit of production of wood, and that's where having a trade union can be quite useful. Now, this is a bit of a special layout though, because you will see that right now, this is not working so well. Why? Because this doesn't have 100% available area. Basically, it means there's not enough trees for the number of lumberjack hut that we have. But that's because I haven't put any items. I'm going to show you in a minute what item to put, and then I'll show you that it works. But before that, let me explain a bit what's happening. Basically, you're going to put as many of those lumberjack huts as possible at the outside of the radius, because if you put it on the inside, they have very little area for the trees to be planted, right? But if you put it really on the outside like this, then you will at least have all of this. So you can put quite a few trees like this. Then you will want to put the roads in the inside. Why in the inside? Because the road in the inside is going to be smaller than if you were to put in the outside. If I put a road like this, to connect all three of these inside, you can see that the road is a lot quicker than the road on the outside. It is basically a circle, right? So the circumference of the circle inside is smaller than the circumference on the outside. So you put your roads on the inside, but you don't need to put a road that go all the way. What you need is to put the minimum number of roads so that all of your lumberjack huts are connected. So that's what you see over here. For example, those 5 over here are connected through this road that goes to all of those warehouses. Then all of these over here are connected through this road. Then all of these over here are connected through this road that goes over here. And then lastly, these 6 over here are connected through this road. Now I did put a couple of roads in the middle, and I'll tell you why. Well, the first one is that over here in the middle, this is space not actually used by the lumberjack huts. As you can see, the range ends over here. So this was sort of free space, and that's why I decided to put the fire station and police station in the middle. But to be able to have the police station and fire station actually be useful, you need a road, right? They need to be linked. So over here, as you can see, this is linked nicely. This is linked. It's actually not linked on this side. So you may want to put also a fire station over here. Then it works well over here. And then similarly for the police station, with this layout, it's actually only work on this side. You could add a few more roads, and we can see what will happen with that. The other thing is that the trade union is now connected to potentially my main roads, right? So that we can get the bonus from the palace if you have that DLC. Now, the big thing is that, as I said, all of these have a low production right now, productivity, because their available area is low. But don't worry, there is a couple of items, and I know that usually I'm not showing you all of the items because I think items really depends on what you're trying to do. Are you trying to have, for example, 0 workforce? Are you trying to have a high productivity? Are you trying to have some of the free products? So anyway, all that to say that in this case, I do think basically these are the items that you're gonna want to put, because these are actually increasing the forest density, meaning you need less trees to reach 100%. And so now if we look at all of these, you will see that they have an available area of 100%. They are all really great. The only one not at 100% is this one over here, which is at 96%, which frankly is pretty perfect. So don't worry about it. But yeah, with that, now we're going to produce 152 of wood per minute without working conditions or some of the zoos or things like this, but with those 3 items, right? Those 3 items are necessary to get this layout to really work well. If you don't have these items, basically what you have to do is just delete a couple of these until you reach high number of available area. So here it is, ladies and gents, 4 different layout and stamps. The stamps are available on my Discord community for free, of course. You can find them from really basic early game to later in the game with your trade union and a lot of items. Don't hesitate if you have any questions, of course, about any of those layouts. Also, if you have requests for the future layouts that maybe I haven't posted yet, don't hesitate to tell me in the comments below, to smash the like button, and I hope to see you next time.